Hope you're all doing well. We got a P-Man van. Good morning, all. Fine day to spend with you doing Bitcoin. We're doing Bitcoin. We're doing so much Bitcoin today. Bon matin à tous. Good morning, everyone. Indeed. Hold on. I'm trying to set this up. Let me see. One second. Didn't get a good vantage point. There we go. That'll be better. Good morning, Bitcoiners. B for victory. How's it going, man? Here we go again, everyone. Indeed. We're going to go today. We're going. Daniel with the Good Morning Breakup Gang. Indeed. Good Morning Breakup Gang. Love the Good Morning Breakup Gang stuff. Good morning, banking cartel disrespectors. Thanks. I like that one. Lucky. Hi team, catching live. Great. Glad you could make it. And I wanted to get back to Ben because Ben let us all know that the sky is clear and the sun is up. I don't have so much of a clear sky, but I got a sun up. It's great. And Bitcoin is running on schedule as predicted, as anyone could have told you it had been running years ago. They might have been off by a couple blocks. We hit the 800,000 block of the day. But there you go. I've hit some darts over time trying to coordinate events to block time, and I've hit like actual blocks as far as programming events. But you're not here to hear about dart throwing timing of events when it comes to block time coordination. You're here for a coffee and to talk about what's new. As you know, everyone, I like to start every day with our favorite session, which is all the fake news that I could find. We call it Muska time. What do we got today? Well, if you've been into the intermittent fasting, be careful, because the fave intermittent fasting diet may lead to type 2 diabetes. You didn't know that. Scientists are saying it, right? So if you've been intermittent fasting for a little while, be careful. You might all of a sudden get some diabetes. So I recommend 7 meals a day. All right, 7. You should be eating from the moment you wake up until the moment you go to bed, preferably by drip if you can, because you never want that system to go without. No good. That's what they're saying. Type 2 diabetes. Remember yesterday when we were talking about the article which cited Nick Carter as one of those right-wing conspiracy theories about eating bugs, and the headline was, the right-wing conspiracy theory about eating bugs is about as racist as you think, right? Oh God, all these right-wing people won't shut up about bug eating. What's the matter with them, right? Well, a lot of people yesterday gathered NPR's own headlines about eating bugs, right? So the right-wing conspiracy theory about eating bugs is about as racist as you think, but where does it all come from? Well, here's a selection of headlines over the years. And a Twitter user even asked, does NPR even read its own news? Here's what they said. Insects get a tasty makeover. Insects may be the taste of the next generation, report says. It's like a Pepsi or something. Insect cuisine is all the buzz. The joys and ethics of insect eating. These pictures might tempt you to eat bugs. Bugs, not what's for dinner until they're tastier, maybe. The green argument for eating cicadas, plus a few recipes. Even Neil deGrasse Tyson is now munching on bugs. At Bug Eating Festival, kids crunch down on the food of the future. It's the food of the future. Maybe it's time to swap burgers for bugs, the UN says. Your ancestors probably ate insects, so what's bugging you? Ha ha ha, Paul Chisholm. Excellent writing for the NPR. This is all from the NPR, by the way, right? What are those racist people talking about, right? It's in their own writing. Don't bug out. The Smithsonian Channel is going to show you how to cook insects. So thank you, NPR headlines, right? It's racist, guys. Careful. Right-wing conspiracy, about as racist as you think. These ones are really good. This came in 2 separate publications. So you, of course, had the Washington Post, right? We love the Washington Post around here. And NBC also had to pick it up. We love NBC, right? Very excellent source for Moscow time. And it turns out they're talking about all this heat wave stuff that's going on. And they're wondering if heat waves are even possible without global warming. And they say no, right? Here's their headlines. Heat waves in US, Europe, virtually impossible without climate change. Study finds. Such events will become only more intense and more frequent unless humans halt the burning of fossil fuels that warm the planet. Brady, Dennis, quoting scientists, real scientists. And NBC, of course, covering that as well. Heat waves hitting US and Europe, virtually impossible without climate change. And they had a tweet to go along with it, which is the heat waves simultaneously broiling the Southwest US and the Southern Europe would have been virtually impossible if not for climate change, according to a group of scientists who study the probability of extreme weather events. So, we don't like to add punchlines, but I guess here it's not a punchline. I'm just observing. I guess there was no hot weather or heat waves in southwestern United States and southern Europe until we had cars. Right? So whatever you think of Mediterranean and southwestern desert of the United States, it was never hot, guys. You didn't get the memo. You didn't do any science. All right? You didn't do the science. The scientists are telling you there was no such thing as heat waves there. All right? Never. Impossible. And it might be the simultaneity of it. Maybe that's what I'm missing, right? Maybe it's at the same time, but who knows? Right? Who knows? Ryan Maue. If you don't follow Ryan Maue, you got to, by the way. Ryan, Maue. He's probably the most sober climate guy out there. And he just adds this, without climate change, July's summer heat in the US Southwest would have been virtually impossible. And then he asks, I guess that's true if you memory hole 1925, 1930s, 1950s, 1980, 1985, 1990, 1985, 2012, 2020, and the rest of the almanac. There you go. There you go. And I got one more Moscow time, just because it is so, and begins to talk about what we're talking about today. And, this was in relation to what we said yesterday. Remember, we were talking about how Hunter Biden is probably the most consequential artist of his generation. That's what someone had asked. Someone was asking the question I've been asking for a long time yesterday on Twitter. So yesterday on Twitter, someone asked, why doesn't Hunter Biden issue NFTs? And I said, no, he has. He's issued a bunch of NFTs last year. Mario Nawfal actually had him on the Spaces to talk about the NFTs as a joke. It was excellent work by Mario Nawfal. But he's been issuing NFTs for a while. And I've actually been asking and urging all the exchanges to hire him. Coinbase has this new system for super talented people to apply. Right? If you've done world-changing things, if you've done amazing stuff, you can actually apply to work at Coinbase. And they want the best of the best. And one of the things you have to do is sort of, excel in some globally important thing. And, Hunter Biden is one of the greatest artists living, according to some people. And it looks like anyway that if you hire him, you get an exemption from all the other troubles with money laundering and all this, because today, right? So everyone talking about his art, but something weird kind of happened, that someone who donated a bunch of the money or who bought some of his art in New York at really high prices got a job out of it. Did you hear about this? I mean, I don't think it's nepotism, right? Hunter Biden sold his art to a donor friend who Joe Biden appointed. Okay, well, so Elizabeth Hirsch Naftali has been revealed as a buyer of Hunter Biden's art, revealing potentially another pay-to-play scheme. So we'll see. And people talking about that today. I was serious. I told Kraken when I worked for Kraken, Hunter, hire Hunter, hire him. Like, no one's going to ask questions. You can do what you got to do. You can run almost any business model if that guy's on your staff. And apparently no one gets in trouble. But here's the interesting thing. Oh, here's a parody headline that I couldn't tell the difference before. We're going to talk about FedNow in a second. But here's a parody headline that it says it had to say parody in the headline because otherwise I wouldn't have known. And it's about Hunter Biden. Exclusive. Here are the paintings Hunter Biden gave his daughter-in-law in lieu of child support payments. It is fake. It's fake. But you can't tell the difference anymore. If that was a real headline, I mean, that's kind of what we love about Moscow time, is that maybe they're fake. We don't know. There's no way to tell. Right? There's no way to tell. I'm telling you, these ones are fake. this headline is fake, but maybe not. Maybe he did actually give some money from one of the paintings to the kid. Who knows? But that would be crazy. He would have to acknowledge the kid first, right? So probably not. Tommy asks, I wish I was a real artist like Hunter. Yeah, if you're a real artist like Hunter, people would pay all this money for your art, Tommy. It would be amazing. It would be amazing. You'd be getting all kinds of Bitcoin for the art. So here's a thing that Scott Adams has been saying on his show a lot, and it ties into what is going on with the art and the Hunter Biden thing and the banks and all that. So Scott Adams has been sharing this kind of euphemism or just a neat and tidy little expression, which is design is destiny, right? So the way you design something will end up determining where it ends up. So basically the design of a system, the engineering of a system, how a system is built, what motivates a system. Bitcoiners know this, right? Incentives matter more than anything, and the design of the incentive systems and how it all comes together will actually help you predict where it's all headed, right? So design indeed is destiny. You can actually use the design of something as a predictive model to tell where it's headed. And weirdly, so the simulation winking at us big time yesterday. So FedNow went live a couple days ago. WorldCoin goes live yesterday. X app that's going to take over half the financial system, according to Elon Musk, which I think is a credible projection for him anyway. We'll talk about that. Not saying it's true, but it's got at least some probability and credibility to it. So if you think about those three systems, right, they're all designed very differently. They all have very different incentive models. And then the BRICS coin is coming on at the end of the summer. So three in the past few days, three actual contenders for the heavyweight crown of new financial system, right? So FedNow being a new settlement system, a new way to manage the US dollar, but a new system nevertheless. They've engineered a new system for settlement and finality and use of the US dollar. So it's not a new US dollar, but a new system is important. And WorldCoin, of course, with the orb that scans your eye, and we'll talk a bit about the details behind it, the cryptographic details and some of the engineering behind the system. And then XApp, of course, right? We don't have all the details, but we certainly know that the focus is going to be on creators. The focus is going to be on independent journalists, which are already sort of flooding the market over in Twitter. So new tools for them. And then, of course, BRICS, right, which is going to be to help these nation states do their thing. And then finally, we're going to compare them all to Bitcoin, right? So it looks like one of these things is going to win, and we got 5 of them right now. And weirdly, 3 of them came about at the same time, and one is about to come about, and then Bitcoin's been about. Bitcoin is the oldest, which is fun. And XApp, we're going to talk a little bit about the Doge pieces in there too. So, so first of all, the FedNow system, right? So in the middle of all of this, Hunter Biden and everything, remember what I've been saying for a long time, and this was something that Powell said live. He said it out loud to people that recorded it. Like, he said this out loud, that the US dollar will only last as long as the country has the rule of law and systems in place that allow it to be a rules-based system, right? So where's all that, right? That was just a few weeks ago. He said that out loud. Now the Hunter Biden stuff is piling on. We're getting more and more clues as to what's happening with the corruption in the United States. Now, we don't have any smoking gun yet, but it looks like in the United States anyway, they're going to begin impeachment of Biden shortly. I don't think it's going to work necessarily, but you had Kevin McCarthy, the Speaker of the House, yesterday saying that they're readying the impeachment of Joe Biden. This is rising to the level of impeachment inquiry, something we haven't seen since Richard Nixon. Joe Biden used the weaponization of government to benefit his family and deny congressional oversight. So not really a rule of law stuff, right? And now people talking about the coin that comes with it. And even like, look at how bad the situation is, right? Look at how bad trust is right now. They're talking about releasing this Fed coin and this FedNow system and a CBDC potentially on top of it. And just look at the lack of trust that's out there. Yesterday, you had Obama's chef who died out at sea, apparently, in some pond, and people had to go and help him. Poor fella. His name is Tafari Campbell. Looks like he had a wife and kids and all kinds of stuff. And people are saying the water was really shallow. And here's Jordan Schachtel, who was a speaker at Bitcoin 2023 in Miami. and likely will be a speaker in Bitcoin Nashville next summer in July, about a year from right now. I think it's happening a year from right now. We are the 25th, maybe just under a year now. We'll be all coming home a year from now from Nashville. So here's what Jordan Schachtel said. Found an Instagram post from 2017 in which Tafari Campbell said he couldn't swim, but he could swim. So everyone there saying, can he swim? Can't he swim? There was a bunch of videos that showed he could swim. He drowned last night in Martha's Vineyard while reportedly out paddleboarding with an unnamed person. Unclear why they couldn't help him out of 8 feet of water. Very sad. And now everyone having these wild ideas about what happened, right? He was murdered. He knew too much about the Obamas and all this. Of course, none of this is true, right? This is summer news. Something might be up. I don't know what it is, right? Now, we're not even going to imagine, but just imagine that we're in a position now that you can't believe anything, like anything, right? Everyone is suspicious about this. Now, there's probably 99% chance there's nothing to be suspicious about. It was a bummer. Who knows what happened, right? Now, details, where's the other person? Where were the Obamas? Everyone wondering all this stuff, right? Now, I don't care about any of those answers. None of that, I think, matters right now. We'll find out more about this poor fella. Very sad stuff. But think about the position that we're in, that half of Americans think that the former president has some kind of weird murder situation going on, and his cook got caught up in it because he was writing a book or something like that. I mean, that's the place we're in. Now, I don't believe that's true, right? But it's possible. And because it's possible, you have all kinds of people, because the system is so destabilized. The system has so little trust. There is so much poison in the well that it's almost impossible for a huge portion of Americans to ever see Obama as anything but a guy whose cook might be murdered out in the sea outside of Martha's Vineyard, right? And that's not a good place for a system to be in. And it's certainly not a place where you're going to build a new, robust financial system to bring people together. Is the FedNow really going to inspire any kind of renewed civic engagement? Is it really going to stop Americans from wondering what the fuck happened to Obama's chef, right? Because that's where we're at. We're at a point where Obama's chef dies tragically, and half the population think Obama is in a QAnon sex ring or something like that, right? So we're Putin's chef cook is Prigozhin, and he's still alive. Yeah. He's cruising around Russia. He's having a good time. Prigozhin is just having a great time. Life is great in Russia for him. No problem. Like I heard Putin got over it. He was like, you had a reason to complain, Prigozhin, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. So I do not think Prigozhin is alive, by the way. If he's alive, he's getting tortured, right? So Prigozhin is gone. Prigozhin is alive. Yeah. He's about as alive as Obama's chef here. So just think about it, right? What chances? Design is destiny, right? What chances? According to Jerome Powell, as long as there's rule of law and we trust our institutions in America, how quaint. What an idiot. It's not here. We're not even close to that world, right? No one trusts any of these people anymore. And whatever percentage of people do trust them, it ain't going to matter. And even look how they're treating, this FedNow system. This is from Caitlin Long, who's suing these people, right? Now, I worked with Caitlin Long because I was the same when I worked with Kraken. We were supposed to get a Fed master account. We were supposed to be integrated in the system, and we got a real license, and we weren't going to have any more legal trouble and blah, blah, blah. Of course, nothing but legal trouble. Kraken is now suing the Federal Reserve. All of these people are pissed off because none of it worked, right? None of the things that were supposed to work, none of the predictability, none of the things that you thought you could predict by using and playing by the rules and getting the right lawyers and paying more lawyers. You look at even Kraken of the day, they talked about hiring, 80 lawyers, 80 more lawyers, right? What are they going to do? Nothing, obviously, right? They're just going to file more things and blah, 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 but it ain't going to work. Here's what Caitlin Long is saying. On the day FedNow is scheduled to launch, I noticed something interesting. shall we say. Among the list of banks and credit unions the Fed authorized first is a group of participants is a fintech, and it's a European fintech and not even an American one. So I went digging, she says. But wait, you're thinking, how does a fintech even have a Fed master account so it can qualify to clear US payments at the Fed? Isn't the Fed keeping fintechs out? Yes, it is, she says, except for certain fintechs. Europe lets its fintechs qualify for special bank charters. And the Fed lets foreign bank branches have Fed master accounts. Curiously, though, the Fed let Adyen open its Fed master account in July 2020, but the Fed didn't approve Adyen's US branch until May 2021. Folks, that's interesting. Adyen doesn't even describe itself as a bank. It calls itself a fintech. Here's its own press release. So, she's pissed off and she's sort of suing them, and she doesn't understand why she can't get basic treatment. Now, she's not saying she has any answers here. She's just saying, what the hell is going on? What about the rules-based thing? What about predictability? It's not even there for legitimate companies like her. It's not even close. There's something going on. Now, I don't know if it's machinations. Remember, we should never ascribe malice what can be explained by stupidity, right? We should always follow that rule. But who knows, right? It doesn't look like it's anything predictable, and it doesn't look like it's going to get a ton of enthusiastic buy-in. It looks like people are going, now it's like having to sign up for a new app or something. That's their big plan. We've got this new system. You just got to sign up. You just got to put your name there. You just got to go here. You got to plug this in. You got to do this. Got to do that. But it's not going to change the world or anything, right? And of course, Luke Rudkowski reminds us, FedNow globalist social credit score payment system is now active. Now, here's the thing. Go back to the design is destiny idea. And we're really dealing with FedMan here. That's what I put it. The theme is design is destiny. And you can see the different people that are produced, the different people who benefit from these different systems, from these different engineered systems. These are all just engineered systems. So who in the end benefits from a FedNow system? It's the same old European, American, probably Asian elite systems. And it goes back to the old same power structures. Doesn't look like anything really is going to change. And it isn't predictable for anyone who's trying to use it in a way that would help them run up. So it looks like this is just a bunch more of the typical overly credentialed bureaucratic nonsense that comes from this amorphous version of post-national America and Europe. And basically every academic's wet dream is baked into the system that FedNow is promoting here. And it doesn't look like it's going to offer much in the way of change. And it's built on the backs of the Bidens in the end, right? In the end, he's the president that's overseeing all of this. And his son is a big money launderer. So there you go. And as it is sort of a perfect system for CBDCs and social credit system, one can't help but worry and fear that this is what is planned. But who knows, right? But all I can tell from Design is Destiny here is that we're in a situation where the same questions are going to persist, the same structures are going to be in place. We're just elevating these globalist type people into more secure, authoritative positions, which I think is sort of counter to what most people want, right? This thing would have to go the way of basically, it would have to use violence exactly as Bitcoiners have predicted for a long time. And Kim.com sort of puts it perfectly as far as this money printing and what's going on with the FedNow system. And he talks about it in the whole context of the world of America losing its place in the world, losing its place as the most predictable venue for rule of law and predictable legal outcomes. Now, that doesn't mean you don't have people who still want to move to America. This is separate from immigration in America being a shining light for people to have all kinds of opportunities. And like that doesn't affect this that much, but it is still an important thing. And here's what Kim.com says. Ukraine is losing now that the US government moves its Poland pawn into position. NATO members are mere chess pieces in a US geopolitical fight for survival. The BRICS plus multipolar world refusing to trade in US dollar will collapse the US empire under its massive debt. No money printing equals no empire. Sounds reasonable to me, right? Sounds coherent. It doesn't mean he's true, but design is destiny, right? If Jerome Powell, the guy who's in charge of this, is saying as long as America remains rules-based, the US dollar will remain the global currency. Well, hate to break it to you, but the money laundering regime doesn't work. Hunter Biden is exploiting it nonstop, and it will do nothing but weaken the reputation of US systems. All right, now the next one is similar, right? Similar design is destiny with the FedNow thing. This is one that I really wish I had a whiteboard, by the way. I bought new orange yesterday, so we're almost back in the game, and I will be traveling with my whiteboard, but we finally have orange again. I've got 2 colors of orange, so we're back in the game, guys. We're going to be doing more whiteboards. 2 oranges I got, so I'm not gonna be running. I got some shiny one, they say, and a normal one, so we'll see which one's better, but we are colored again. Just got to get the blackboard, so there you go. There you go. Hold on 1 second. So so now let's talk about Altman, right? So we had the FedMan with the FedNow system, right? All these competing new financial systems all of a sudden coming online, right? 5 of them. So you get the FedMan with the FedNow, then you get the Altman, right? Sam Altman is creating the Altman WorldCoin. And who came in with an analysis yesterday but our friend Vitalik, right? Vitalik came in and wrote a big piece on WorldCoin. Talking about what it does, and Evolve Web 3 talks about the pros and cons that Vitalik brought up. He created a little graph about privacy, accessibility, robustness of decentralization, security against fake people, talked about the pros and cons of it, and CoinGecko came in and did a breakdown quickly of what Vitalik said. So Vitalik Buterin wrote a blog detailing his view of the WorldCoin project. While it seems very valuable, it still has 4 major risks in its design. So these are quotes from Vitalik: privacy, accessibility, centralization, and security. And then you get these takes, right, about, this one guy, WorldCoin will be more valuable than Bitcoin because everyone in the world will have it. There's a video going around with this guy talking about it, right? And someone mentioned, yeah, just like the YouTube album that everyone on the iPhone got, right? It's the same idea. You just give it to them. They're going to love it. A lot of people bringing up the VCs that are behind WorldCoin. So you can imagine it's Andreessen Horowitz, Coinbase Ventures, Day One Ventures, Coin Fund, Sam Bankman-Fried, Gavin Wood, who helped Vitalik create Ethereum in the first place, who is also on Poly something. He's got some other coin that he launched a little while ago. Multicoin Capital is another one. Kinetic Capital. Multicoin Capital would be the one that was heavily involved with Solana for a long time. That's got a few of these thought leaders, influencers. 3 Arrows Capital, another one. So it's the same old groups that you've all heard of before in the space. We're dealing with the Reid Hoffmans. We're dealing with these folks, and it's really the same old thing. And by Vitalik weighing in, it sort of confirms the way the Altman thesis goes, and I'll explain it. It's the same thesis as Ethereum. It's all the same thesis, right? It's always the same thesis. It's the new thing that is going to be better for financial engineering consumers and the engineers themselves. And I know, the system is really complicated. The world is hard. And I know it was, you were okay with a 130 IQ and a Series 7 license in order to save money. No, they didn't die. They're still around. And they gave money. I mean, they're probably just locked up in this Slarty Blart fast. So what happens is when when anyone would give money, right, to one of these projects, you end up not being able to get the money out for a while. So it's held until they can dump on the public. Until WorldCoin trades freely, then you can get your lockup out, and they don't want them to tank the price, right? So it's all manipulation. So when you make an investment into one of these startups that are oversubscribed, they say, right, what ends up happening is, and I see this a lot at the events, right? So when I did consensus for years. This is the point of consensus in many ways, is to bring professionals into the industry. And you get a lot of investment meetings, and you get people who work for the VCs who meet with every project. But the ones, it's a beauty pageant type of thing, right, on the side of the show. But the thing is, the ones that are sought after, really, they're just turning people down, right? Because everyone wants a higher allocation, or sort of, it's not hard for them to fill the cap table or the allocation table, or whatever they call it, right, when they're distributing this stuff. So yeah, I would imagine 3AC is able to survive with that investment because it's worth something. It doesn't mean they own it necessarily. It could be that someone else is got some form of they might have traded it, right, sort of under the table or over the counter, they call it, right? So you can trade it over the counter to someone, the claim to it. You can give someone an option on it. You can sell an option on what you hold for years later. So there's lots of things they could have done with it. I don't know if they own it free and clear, is what you're saying, Slarty Blarfast. I don't know, but they are in the allocation. They made a check because WorldCoin, of course, launched when they still had a ton of money, right? When Suju was still sort of on top of the world. And everyone was saying, look at all the great podcasts they have in Ethereum. They got I got Suju doing a podcast, and he's also really rich. That was one of my favorite observations from that time. So what it comes down to, I think, WorldCoin, and again, this is the design is destiny frame, right? You can actually predict from this design where we're headed. This is more of the same Altman stuff, right? You might have been okay with your 130 IQ making it in the 2010s, right? But now it's the 2020s. You got to go up. We need smarter people again. And this was always the fallacy of, I think anyway, or the blind spot of Vitalik's worldview. And a lot of Ethereum people's worldview, right? A lot of the people who came to Bitcoin and saw it as consumer tech that must be upgraded, that it was a great idea, Bitcoin, right? But we got to go faster, we got to go stronger, we got to get more penetration, more of this stuff. It's the failure to see Bitcoin as not consumer tech, right? Because we're so blinded by the historic trends in technology, we think of all technology as consumer technology. That is, I want the iPhone 13, I want the iPhone 14, I want the iPhone 15, right? Super Nintendo, there's an order to how this stuff comes out generationally, and the upgrade is always better than the first one. And so everyone, when they see Bitcoin first, has this instinct, oh, I'm going to make it faster, I'm going to make it better, it's consumer tech, da 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 da. But of course, you start to find out that Bitcoin is one second. So you start thinking that this is consumer technology, and when you think it's consumer technology, you fall into that trap, right? That it's got to do better, it's got to do more. And many people take a long time to understand that Bitcoin is not consumer technology. It's technology, but not all technology is consumer technology. There's other things like a wheel. A wheel is technology. You don't need a better wheel than a wheel, right? You could make it out of better materials like they did with rubber, but it's still a wheel. Right? You don't need to reinvent the wheel. That's why it's an expression. That's why it's an idiom, right? And when you live in a consumer society, of course, you get addicted to consumer technology and the new thing and the upgrade and the whatnot, right? But you're not actually motivated to make a thing that's durable, that will last. And that's where the Bitcoin piece comes in, right? Of course, Bitcoiners realize that the technology itself, yeah, so Tommy is talking about it here. He says, I want my hardware wallet to never, ever need to be replaced. Soon, I want my phone to never, ever need to be replaced. Bitcoin is bad for planned obsolescence mindset. Absolutely. That's what I'm getting at here, is that in the case of WorldCoin, we're just getting into more of the same, whatever snake oil they sold with Ethereum, faster, stronger, better. It's going to be for the smart people. And that's still the problem you get when you meet up with a bunch of Ethereum people. Their intentions, I think, are recognizable to most Bitcoiners. They say the same things. They'll say, we want decentralized finance, we want to do this, we want to do that. What they're really hoping to do, though, is just replace the current systems. Oh, no. 1 second. Sorry, we got a uh, leaking washing machine alarm, blah, blah, blah. Consumer technology. More of that great consumer technology we're talking about. It's done it a few times, and there's a drain in the building, so there's an alarm. If it senses water on the floor, it goes off to drain it, blah, 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 blah. Sorry about that. So the problem with WorldCoin then is the same with Ethereum. You go talk to these people, and their intentions are great, right? They want a lot of what Bitcoiners want. However, what they often are missing is that the structure of society, that is to say, we now live in a world where financial engineers are the best paid people in the world, and they have the highest IQs, which is typical of any era, right? Smart people move to where you get paid the most, which is why financial engineering took off in the last 30, 40 years, because financial engineering was the most lucrative job in the world. And it was the most lucrative job in the world because it started to get into this design is destiny thing, which is if it's the best paid job, if you can get money for designing these little things, these little mouse traps, you're going to make a shit ton of money. So it taught a whole generation of people, especially ones that were starting to learn the skills of computer science, adding that to their knowledge of financial engineering. So you had the computer engineers meeting the financial engineers for just a orgy of engineering. And that orgy of engineering means that you need to be even smarter. It's exactly as Altman is going for. You need a bit of AI, right? And cognitive increase to even use these systems. So again, the vision of the world, the design that WorldCoin offers, it might align with a lot of Bitcoin stuff, but inevitably it's a photo and a freeze frame of what we have now. It's the financial engineers with new skills in computer science and computer engineering, adding another layer to their sophistication, and now they're in charge. Because who's going to be able to use all this stuff? Now I understand, it's just based on the ZK snarks, which is they're not actually stealing all of your data, right? Now I see that people are freaking out. Oh, who would ever scan their iris? Well, I do. It's not my iris, but it's my face, right? I use the Face ID thing. And it's got its limitations, right? Of course. And I don't know exactly which of these security systems for hardware is going to make it. I can see, even what Tommy is saying, I don't want my wallet to be replaced and I don't want my phone to be replaced. Yeah, I think that'll slow down, but I think there will even be increases in biometric security. That's all consumer tech and normal, right? And normal. Like I can imagine a world where you do have a more sophisticated physical wallet. In my story, Satoshi Wedding Murders, the wallets never really increase in capacity. Your AI is actually your wallet, right? Which is what I think anyway, Elon Musk is getting on about with his new X thing, right? So people picking up on that yesterday, that the reason why perhaps he even bought it in the first place, Twitter, and this is from Raoul Pal, a little bit on design is destiny behind his new X thing. And he says this: two things I've said when Elon bought X. Elon bought it for the AI and the free speech angle, is to give it an unbiased model. He needs the AI to train the Optimus robot. He will use crypto to be able to make global payments for creators, etc. My guess is he uses Doge. He will also integrate payments and brokerage soon too, as all financial conversations happens here. Let's see how it evolves, for better or worse. So this is from Raoul Pal, who you all know from A Real Vision. So let's go back to design as destiny. We got the FedNow, right? Creating this, just an extension of what you've already seen, the FedMan, right? That's it. You get the Altman, right? So that's from the WorldCoin stuff. Now the X-Man, right? And what is the X-Man in this system? Well, first of all, you can start to see from design being destiny if he does take Doge, and even the creative piece of it. That looks really interesting, right? And one of the neat things that's happened with this embrace of the creatives is you've seen a ton of people, like, you don't even really need to know Elon Musk's spot and position, and you don't need to read his mind to know where he stands, simply because Twitter has allowed all of these people to sort of move from mainstream media capture over to a more independent footing. What's that blonde hair? Megyn Kelly, for example, right? You got Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly used to be on Fox, and she sort of had to do her thing. And But now she's on her own after she left NBC, and she's on her own, and she's moving more towards the Alex Jones world, right? You get all these people that are moving more towards that independent journalist, independent, say what's on my mind point of view. And that only was possible because of what Twitter has done. And I've continued to think that just simply having Twitter as a space where you get community notes if you lie, it's really done a lot for the mental health of America and a lot of folks, right? Because now when you go onto Twitter, there's still a huge fight. It's still a garbage fire. Everyone's still yelling at each other, but at least it's not gaslighting and lying, and no one can make sense of what's going on. So now the design is destiny part in the X thing. Look, it's just a little too amorphous to me, right? X, just like he said, he always wanted to make the X app. And as Raoul Pal says here, the him buying Twitter was really just because it was the biggest platform he could buy with the most users that he could afford in order to plug it into his system to build this financial network, the X app that he's been trying to build since pre-PayPal. So now he uses Doge, right, which triggers a lot of people, but I think it's kind of fine in its own way. Only because, by the way, as a early educator around Bitcoin, I would always tell people to go play with Doge in like 2015, 2016. I would say, go play with Doge, and if you lose it, no big deal, and all that. So luckily I made people, I was able to make people successful by suggesting Doge to them over the years and all of that stuff. So, so it's hard for me to not, totally not like it. And then I always thought it was cool, and I liked the community, and I was sort of into it. Now, all of that said, the whole X-Man and this just X piece and going after these creatives, I think there's a lot to be said for it, right? Giving creatives space, giving them the ability to argue about these things. But we got to admit that, again, Twitter is such a small fraction. It's the smallest social media site by far. It's growing quick, but even at current pace of growing, it's still not going to take over that much, right? It still only really attracts a really small subset of engaged people. Bitcoiners a lot, right? Bitcoiners have been in Twitter for a long time. They flooded the space, and they're disproportionately active on the space. And so Bitcoiners have greatly benefited from Twitter, and I think will continue to going forward. But what he's saying here is that it's only half the financial system, right? Remember that's what Elon Musk has been saying. It's half the financial system. Oops. And because it's only half the system, well, what's the other half, right? Well, again, that's the part where it's only being used for a small subset of people. It's not the same high IQ individuals that we're talking about with the Vitalik thing and WorldCoin, or the credentialed people with the Fed system. It is a little bit different, but still, it's not touching on the people who just want to save money and not fight about every political thing, the people who just want to make a chair, right? The best chair possible, and make money by being the best chair maker. It's not really for them, right? Now it might be, you can pay people, maybe they'll sell it on Twitter, and you can have people do those kinds of things, but we'll see, right? It's still nevertheless AI dependent, and it'll likely be Doge. Likely, that's what Raoul is saying. I don't know one way or the other if it's going to be Doge. But again, design is destiny, right? What are you going to get but a bunch of shit posting meme lords and irreverence and all of the same stuff we love about Elon Musk? But that doesn't quite apply to the spiritual nature of what money can actually do, the psychological nature of having a better form of money. So we'll see. We're going to get to it. And now finally, BRICS, right? Now, it doesn't take a genius to figure out what's wrong with the BRICS system. Now, it's great for forcing the hand of the Fed. It's great as a negotiating chip on the table. But what is it really, right? If we have a FedMan, which is this globalist credentialed person, we have the Altman, which is high IQ, like an Ethereum person. We need smarter people running the world. That's all that we need, just more smart people, and put them in charge, and we'll get a better world. Or the X thing, which is we need some irreverence. We need the creatives in charge. We need the dreamers powering the financial system. They all got to get rich, which I agree with, right? And then finally the BRICS thing, which is really just exactly what you would imagine. It's nation state oriented. It helps the nation state itself. These are countries expressing desire to use currencies in a way that doesn't give too much to the United States and preserves a lot of negotiating power for themselves, which is why you see all kinds of negotiating around energy buying with this money, why it is going to be a commodity that helps large purchases of energy around the world, why the countries involved in it are simply trying to have bilateral financial relationships and not include the Federal Reserve, and all of that stuff, right? So there you go. And then, of course, right, contrast it all to Bitcoin. Remember, design is destiny. So you get a coin that's good for commodities and national vigor, let's say. You have another one that's for creatives. You have another one for super high IQ altmans. And then you get the FedNow thing. But then, of course, what is the design of Bitcoin, right? And design is destiny. Design predicts where you're going to head. Well, Bitcoin is just a P2P market, right? And the destiny of that system is more recognizable, I think, anyway, to what Bitcoiners want to see in the world. The design of the Bitcoin system is this simple. It's I'm not the boss of you and you're not the boss of me. And that's the end of the story, right? There's no more X-Man creatives running super high IQ, creative things, making money, selling products, using the algorithm, using the AI, cognitive increase, where's my brain chip, all this kind of stuff, right? It's not that. It's not even close to that, right? It's also not where's your credentials? Are you a Fed person or not? And it's not, are you an alt man? Where's your AI implants? It's none of those things. Are you a BRICS guy? Are you working in a factory for the man, trying to make sure you pay your taxes so they can have leverage and manipulate other people's currencies for better deals on energy and to dump their products into the foreign markets, right? Is it any of those things? It's none of those things. It's none of those things. And design is destiny. Any one of these other systems, it's going to give you the future that it's designed to give you. And it's clear what future comes from each of them. The Fed system is exactly like the globalists are telling you it is. The Altman system is exactly like he's telling you it is, right? It's for people who think that scanning your eye and then guess what? And then the ZK Snarks comes in and then no. Who cares, all right? Who's going to follow this shit? The X app thing, right? These are very vital people in the world. But are we going to build our society around Jordan Schachtel, who I love, right? Whitney Webb, we love her, right? We love all these people. We're happy they're getting paid. We want them to get paid. We want all these people on Twitter to get paid in Doge, in whatever. It doesn't matter. It's a good thing that it's happening, but it's not a way to orient a society. It's not a way to fix the mental health problems in the world. It can help, right? Having less lying and less gaslighting, certainly a help. But it's still not the kind of world that most of us think we're headed to. The world we're headed to is the one that Satoshi predicted. Its design is destiny, right? The design of a P2P system is in line with how humans have lived forever. Before we invented this nation state thing, we did live in markets and in worlds where your reputation, your interaction with another person was what mattered most. And the ability that Bitcoin has to lower everyone's time preference, to treat everyone with more respect, everyone as a more valuable human in the system. It's the only one that does that. None of these other systems put any value on an individual human being the way it could, the way Bitcoin does. FedNow doesn't care about you. WorldCoin doesn't give a shit about you. Dogecoin doesn't give a shit about you, right? The X people, the X-Men, great people, but right, they got their own incentives. And then of course BRICS, we don't need to say too much about BRICS, but there you go, right? We got weirdly all these competing systems, 5 competing monetary systems, all starting at once, and Bitcoin is the oldest. That counts. That really does count, right? And it's the oldest, and in the end, the design is most clearly beneficial to the widest swath of humans, to everyone, right? It is a P2P market, and it predicts the design of it, the destiny of it is a world where I'm not the boss of you, you're not the boss of me, and we all can get along under those conditions. So that's the world we're headed to. And let's see some quotes here, and I can hear my wife busy trying to get that mess cleaned up. I'll have to go help her in a moment, I'm sure. But let's see what we got here. We got good mornings. We got I'll never vote for a Democrat in my life. That's okay. I would vote for RFK. No problem at all. I would vote for RFK. Quanti, I made some Bitcoin drink coasters. I would love to show to maybe I can put them in your magazine. I also made some coins. Quanties, yeah. Show a picture on the internet and we can have a look, man. Win some hacks. Hunter Biden is an artist. He's in his Coke and hookers face. He's actually not a bad artist. I will say he's not terrible. He's not terrible. You gotta say that. I'm not like, none of it's worth the money being paid for it. None of it, right? But it's not awful. I can say that. Right? I can say that. It's not awful. I still think he should go to jail personally. But if I was on a jury, right, I would his art wouldn't save him. But it's not bad. Show me the drivers and I will show you the outcome. Yeah, that's design is destiny right there. I was on Twitch and didn't know to come here. Hey, Quanties. Yeah, we don't. I hook it up to Twitch, but we don't use it too much. Show me those sometime, Quanties. Yeah, how can I show you? Show me on Twitter. You can send, if you don't want to share them publicly, you can send them as a DM on Twitter. I am at CountBTC. With all the smart money in the world, it is all the smart money. Yeah. All fiats have a life cycle prior to the U.S. demise, of course. Yeah. Frank from upstate New York. We love it there. There's the Putin's cook is still alive. He's doing great. He's just cruising around in Russia. He's taking a summer vacation at Lake Baikal. He's out in Siberia, having a good time. With all the and if Michael Saylor is correct, why hasn't BTC been sold out? There's only 21 million, and there isn't that much left to purchase. Well, war comes to you, Patrick Anderson, and you don't get to choose it. So I don't think everyone understands what's happening yet, right? So you can say math, but this is a spiritual thing. So some people just haven't advanced. Right? It's a complete spiritual thing. So there you go. I thought the 3AC died. New fiat layer 1. Yeah, that's the FedNow. Clown WorldCoin. The clown is silent. I just want a phone that runs the current full Linux kernel so I can run a portable hacking device. That's cool. Hi, I am new to Bitcoin and I am here to fix it. Yeah, that's one of my favorite memes. Bitcoin is producer/infrastructure technology, not consumer distraction technology. That's a good way to put it, Brandon, or 13 Randon. Slarty Blartfast, love your thoughts on all of this. Thank you, Slarty Blartfast. Thank you. That's what we're going for. That's what we're going for. Yeah. Tom Mellahan, Altman, Bankman, Fedman, and X-Man. Yeah, that's the design. Yeah. Doge coin to the Mars. Yeah, on Mars. Like him or not, I love Elon. You know, like him or not, Elon has been successful in his endeavors. Whoever thought he wasted his money by our bling in their dislike from? Yeah. I mean, who cares how much money he spent on it? Like, not my money. I don't care. Musk bought Twitter for a lot of reasons, but chief among them to access serious dirt on people. No kidding. The biggest media voice in the world to protect his other businesses. Yeah, that's a reasonable assessment. But I don't think we can take out the proof that he wanted this. I mean, he built PayPal. Let's not forget. He helped build PayPal, so he knows a bit about this stuff. This old generation still on the MSN, just needs to die out. Yeah, no, I don't think it takes decades. They're becoming weaker and weaker and weaker, right? I mean, they're all the boomers now are in their 60s. They're not coherent anymore. I always see old people boggles to my newspaper. I got my newspaper. What you do is you ask them, what I do with the mainstream news is not argue it with people. It's another one of these ones where I use it as like, you believe the news? You believe the news? That's all I say. I don't argue it. You believe it. You make them explain why they believe the news. And they will stop, honestly. I've seen it work many times. Just make a person justify why they read the news to you. Don't explain to them what's wrong with the news. Just say, oh, I didn't hear. Like, it's like I do with January 6th. I didn't hear. What happened? Someone did a what? make them explain to you that an insurrection happened, and they won't. They'll get angry because they can't. And it's the same with the news. Just say, oh, you believe the news. Oh, okay, that's what I didn't understand. Oh, I get it. Oh, you believe what you read. And they know, I mean, deep down, not even deep down, basically at the surface, people know it's a scam. So they'll right away try and say, oh, they got good writers and da, da, da. You don't have to argue them. Just let them spin in cognitive dissonance. They'll go on and on and on. But it's not a garbage fire. It's just people. There's never been a time when people conversed politely. Yeah, you're right. Sorry, I don't. If I said a garbage fire on Twitter, what I mean is not everyone wants to converse impolitely about things, because you also got to remember, right? And I believe this about Twitter. This is another thing Scott Adams brought up lately that's true. If you go to Twitter and just assume that most of the trolls are actually drunk, like there's a major alcohol problem, like inebriation and tweeting problem out there, it sort of makes Twitter make more sense, right? And that is kind of what I see now. Now that I see it, I can't unsee it. So a lot of makes me wonder, you know. So there you go. In 100 years, you could read supposedly polite society sniping each other via newspaper letters pages. Yeah, you're right. You're right. So it's not the thing that'll turn everybody off Twitter, but there are some people who just want to make a chair. They don't want the fighting, right? So there you go. Ignore rug. You know, I've hung out with Raul a few times. He used to be a Bitcoin. He was a bear against ICOs in the old days, and yeah, I mean, look, I'm not taking financial advice from the guy. I'm not even taking media advice from the guy. But you know, I still follow what he says just to see what just to hear what people are saying in his orbit. Right? He's useful for that. Do you mind Dogecoin? No, I don't. There was faucets years ago, and that's how I got the Dogecoin that I had from the faucets, and that's why I would direct kids to it, or teenagers or anyone in that era, was that basically, yeah, mining, it's a waste of energy. Yeah, I mean, but it was good to learn. But I was mining Ethereum in the early days because that's what's good to learn in those times, because you could get a lot, and it wasn't that competitive. So I didn't do too much Dogecoin anything. Watching Robert Sepper makes me wonder if Bitcoin is just old tech that old civilizations used to use. Yeah, it could be. I do my natural shuddering practice during the show. 1 hour is perfect. Moscow time makes me shiver. Moscow time is pretty good. Gensler's in the Gensler's here. Hey Gary, what's up? Hope you're doing well. And we got Brandon talking about a FedWire. Oh yeah, what is derivative of paper Bitcoin? Yeah, that's a problem. Somehow manipulates the price. Well, it does, because you're not creating any pressure on chain to buy. Because you can sell Bitcoin without actually cranking the engine and getting the torque out of the actual chain, right? Because in a real prime, because it'll be my fourth pump coming up. So pump 1 and 2 that I lived through, both had the supercharged, hard to buy Bitcoin on-chain demand is clear and explicit and all that. The last one in 2021 didn't have that. And most of us were like, we're not at the top because we haven't felt the chain get clogged up, but that was the paper Bitcoin. So that's what's going on. And then derivative paper Bitcoin is just unsettled. Like what's going on the SIBO, or the SIBO canceled the Chicago board of whatever. And the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, where the big derivative contract takes place in America. That one is just settled in dollars. They never touch Bitcoin. There's no Bitcoin being touched ever. It's just, but now they actually changed that. Now they do. So at a certain point, you do have to actually have physical delivery, because they got pissed about all that oil not getting picked up and all that. So there is some sort of weird physical delivery thing that you can opt into. And I know a lot of the big buyers in the 2020 time, I think Drunken Miller did this, where he just bought a derivative on the exchange and then waited for the physical settlement. So there you go. I don't think we should dismiss any opinion because you don't like someone. People are never 100% wrong. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about Raoul Pal. Isn't Jim Cramer 100% wrong? Yeah, but you got to follow him because he's such a counter signal that you gotta follow him. No, Raoul still has. Look, I'm not taking his advice like, oh, did you hear what Raoul said, right? But he's pretty plugged in. He means this. He's sincere in his own way, and that's all I ask for, right? All I ask for. The only people that I follow are sincere people. Now, he could be as wrong as you can be and still be sincere. I'm not that into Vitalik as much as maybe years ago when I would read what he wrote. Never from like, oh, what did Vitalik say? But I believed him to be sincere. I still think he's a sincere person, but it's becoming a little more difficult to see it that way simply because of the amount of obvious problems that he just washes away with wishy-washy weasel word language, which he never used to do, right? Never used to do that weasel word wash. He'd do confusopoly, look at all the fancy words, but he didn't do weasel words. He's been doing a couple weasel words lately, but nevertheless, like even Vitalik, a sincere guy, mostly, right? Sincere but confused. Yeah, sincere but confused. Sincerity is the best we can hope for, though, right? As long as they're not actually actively trying to lie that you can see, it's worth listening. It's worth listening, right? Anyone else experiencing difficulty in withdrawal currently? Withdrawal from what, Marshall? Hope it's not too hard, man. All right, team. If anyone can help Marshall, please do. I've got to go and help my wife, who's got a small flood to deal with, and I'm going to fix that. So, all right, team. Yeah, he definitely does. He does. Yeah. But we don't, if you ever spend time with him, you'll see that because he's so, let's call it fragile looking. You have to actually spend a bit of time with him before you get more about what he's into. So there you go. The Bitcoin Ben Show. Hey, Bitcoin Magazine. Great to see you doing so well. I remember retweeting some of your first posts. Awesome, Bitcoin Ben. Disconnected. Yeah. Thanks, Nolan. All right. He's very in his brain. Yes. But I mean, I've met his family and I've hung out. His dad is great. Like he's got you can't look, I mean, the worst thing I can say about Vitalik is that he's super gentle. No, not always a good thing, right? Super gentle, super nonviolent. So there you go. But yes, definitely in his brain. And if you spend time with him, you'd know why he's super gentle. And his dad is not. His dad looks like a WWF guy. You wouldn't believe his dad. His dad's jacked, like huge guy. You absolutely wouldn't believe the shape his dad is in. It's remarkable. His dad's he was a young dad to Vitalik, so he was never like an old fella or anything, right? So he was out with us in the early ETH days, just like proud as heck of his son, and you wouldn't imagine that guy had that son, and you could see why he was proud. You could understand because it was a neat thing, So there you go, gentle fella. And in things like this, when he's talking about WorldCoin, like his analysis was pretty good. It's really good, actually, right? So he's good for that kind of stuff. Yeah, go clean. Yeah. See you guys. Peace.